Angela Merkel says she and her G7 superheroes are going to vaccinate the entire planet. What could possibly go wrong? We know they want a new world order, but do they also want a new world religion? Some say this globalist dumpster fire is the apocalypse. Please, that's an insult to the apocalypse. All that and more tonight from the editor's desk.
If we cannot make sure everyone is vaccinated, if the virus is not defeated all over the world, no one will be safe.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Michael Matt coming to you once again from the offices of the Remnant newspaper. So what is this really all about? They want to vaccinate the entire world. You remember when this was all about stopping the spread, slowing the spread, preventing hospital overload and all of that? What's really at the heart of this? What's really going on? I mean, when Frau Merkel, for example, fantastic pantsuit, by the way, Angela. Does Hillary Clinton realize that you're raiding her wardrobe? But anyway, it looks good. But when Frau Merkel, after a long, hard day of doing whatever a Merkel does, when she's lying there in her bed next to Herr Merkel, what does she say to him? Does she come clean at that point? What does she say is the reason that they all want to vaccinate the whole world? And does she say, we're going to get rich? I don't buy that, because they got more money than they'll ever need. They're older people now. What are they going to do with all this money, Would it be then that we're going to become powerful, famous? I don't know. They got their own country right now in which to, boss people around in. That doesn't really line up. Is it, for actual fear, Ach du lieber Liebchen. I am so afraid that the virus is going to kill us and the children. I don't think so. I mean, even Klaus Schwab, said that this is the least deadly pandemic in 2,000 years. So what are we talking about? What are they doing? What motivates them? It's not a liberal versus conservative thing, because we got plenty of liberals out there, more so every day, plenty of liberals who are railing against the notion of forced vaccination.
If we're talking about freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom of choice with the vaccine, for instance, then the opposite of that is what we're experiencing. If you take that away, what we're experiencing that disturbs me most is coercion. So that's where it steps into sadism for me, the photographs of the people on buses with masks on saying, don't let their sacrifice be in vain. Phew, that's bad.
Poor old Slowhand, He just looks so, because he's not an anti-vaxxer. He doesn't know what's happening to him, and he admits it. And then he even talks about, Eric Clapton, he even admits that the brainwashing has gotten to him so bad that he's turning off his TV.
I'm really, I've caught this anxiety syndrome. I have it bad, and I don't have it as bad as I had maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago when I was devoutly following the 6 o'clock and the 10 o'clock news or talk radio, or trying to find someone who's speaking a language that I can identify with. But now I've stopped watching TV. So much of the sickness is in our heads now.
Well, this isn't a traditional Catholic, guys, right? This isn't a Trump voter. This is Slowhand. This is Eric Clapton, okay? And he's freaking out over this. There are people like that all over the world, right? They're going to force vaccinations in the UK. And yet that doesn't stop old Uncle Joe, Everybody must get vaxxed, says Joe.
If you get a shot this week, you can be fully vaccinated by July 4th, by the week of July the 4th. And you can celebrate Independence Day free from fear or worry.
That again, eh, Joe? The old cookout, July 4th cookout? Well, you came to the family cookout last 4th of July, didn't you?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we had so many fireworks that night that one of the neighbors called the cops. And the beautiful thing was the cops showed up at our 4th of July party last year, and they told us to calm down on the fireworks, and there we were, about, 100 of us? Nobody's wearing a mask. Cop didn't say a word. We were having our cookout a year ago, Uncle Joe. as most of America was. What are you talking about, guy? What are you talking about? And in the name of this post-COVID Great Reset, from mandatory vaccinations to open borders, Team Biden is literally making fools of themselves.
We are going to the border. We've been to the border. So this whole thing about the border, we've been to the border. We've been to the border.
You haven't been to the border.
I haven't been to Europe. And I don't understand the point that you're making.
Is that right, Cammie? You notice every time this woman gets ready to lie, she starts cracking up laughing like a hyena? A piece of work. The thing is, this is where Kamala Harris, she's not dropping the ball. Sean Hannity and the rest of you people out there that are still laboring under the assumption that this is Democrat versus Republican politics, which it absolutely is not. Kamala's not dropping the ball. Kamala's doing exactly what Kamala was put in there to do. That's why she was chosen. That's why Biden was chosen, so he would follow orders. They're building the open society, friends. They're building the world without borders. They're doing the business, the bidding of George Soros. This is Davos. This is the Great Reset.
The fourth industrial revolution will impact our lives completely. It will not only change how we communicate, how we produce, how we consume. It will change actually us, our own identity. And this revolution will come at a breathtaking speed. It will be like a tsunami.
A tsunami? Don't you sort of associate terrible things with a tsunami?
Devastation, a little bit.
Yeah, people dead, cities destroyed. Klaus is going to make this thing come in like a tsunami, eh, Klaus? The Fourth Reich is going to come in like a tsunami. Is that kind of like a blitzkrieg, Klaus? Maybe a final solution that you're talking about here? Can't make it up. And so do you see why Kamala isn't going down to the southern border of the United States? Is because she's a globalist tool. She's working for Klaus. She's doing what Klaus wants her to do. Kamala, Joe, they're dismantling our country, just as their masters at Davos and the New World Order, the United Nations, want them to do, so that they can launch their precious Fourth Industrial Revolution. That's why they got rid of Trump. So Biden would stand back and intentionally let America's borders collapse. If you don't have borders, you don't have a country, do you? I can't believe there are still people out there like this is conspiracy theory stuff. I cannot believe it. That's really on you. You're just not doing your reading if you're still thinking that this is just wacky Art Bell stuff. This whole thing at the southern border is intentional. The whole thing with the COVID lockdown, intentional. The breaking of the economy, intentional. We know it. They know it. Even some rather radical lefties know it. Folks who have a lot to lose if this Great Reset happens. Guys like Bill Maher. You know what? Bill Maher, he likes his American lifestyle. People say, man, he's like talking like a conservative. He's not a conservative. He's a radical liberal. But you know what he is? He's an American. He likes his lifestyle. He likes his fleets of cars and private jets. He wants to keep his lifestyle. Klaus is promising to have that tsunami come in here and wreck everybody's lifestyle, including guys like Maher. They got a lot to lose. And they're not going to be happy owning nothing, And that's why they're getting pretty ticked off at the stupid going on 24/7 now.
And I see people on the street walking outside with a mask on like a moron. I just want to shout at them outside the car. You're a moron. You never could get it outside, really. Right. And you're alone walking on the street with a mask.
And again, you don't have to be a conservative, a Trump guy, a traditional Catholic, a fundamentalist. You don't have to be that to know exactly what's going on here.
I think we owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has, in many ways, helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science.
And so now it's no wonder that the experts, the scientific experts, are getting panned even in the halls of Congress now.
But Dr. Fauci needs to cut the crap. This isn't about Dr. Fauci. It's not about his feelings, and I'm sorry if his feelings were hurt. Maybe he ought to buy an emotional support pony.
I don't know if that's a thing, but it sounds great. I want one. You know, so again, this has got to be kind of embarrassing for Fauci and these guys, Gates and everybody. It's kind of embarrassing. So why are they all putting themselves through this? Why are the G7 folks putting them through this stupid dumpster fire, this charade that everyone sees through? This is about the establishment of a new order. That's what the Nazis did, the Soviets did, the Chinese. They're establishing a new world order. And you know what? This particular new world order comes along with a new global religion. This, friends, is a cult. It's the only explanation for what's happening. It's a cult. It's the only explanation why thinking, normal, rational, regular people are running around with 2-3 masks on and shields in their cars and getting vaxxed when they're 35 years old and healthy and freaking out. It's the only explanation. It's a cult. It's a religion. So if you're wearing that mask in your car and you think you need to get rid of cows and hamburgers and steaks in order to save the planet, guess what? You've been indoctrinated. You're like the guys wearing the Nikes and drinking the Kool-Aids and get ready to go kill yourself to chase after the Hale-Bopp comet.
It happened 20 years ago, an act of mass suicide that shocked the world. All were dressed in identical black clothing and sneakers. This was their leader, Marshall Applewhite, known by his fellow cultists as Doe. Doe made the preposterous claim that upon death, they would all board an extraterrestrial alien spacecraft.
You have to trust me. You have to believe me.
That's what you're doing. You're in a cult. You actually are. You've become practitioner of a new religion. And you can prove this. Go ahead. Go out on social media and question the dogmas of that new religion. See what happens to you. Look out for big tech, the big tech Inquisition, which makes the so-called Spanish Inquisition look like Shirley Temple and her friends at a tea party for what these people are doing. You know what? Years ago, we've all heard this. You know, they used to say about my church that the popes invented dogmas on hell and scary things like everlasting damnation. Why do they invent them? To frighten the Catholics, to frighten the little people into compliance, to control us. Fear being a powerful motivator to make people follow the rules. Okay? So you tell me, what do you think's going on out there right now? Other than a global confessional state, which is controlling millions of people through what? Through fear. And that fear is only going to subside after we give them the Great Reset, the new Fourth Industrial Revolution, the New World Order, the dawn of a new civilization. That's what will make your fear go away. Don't you understand? That's what they're doing. What is this? So we ask the question, why are the G7 characters, why are they going through this? Many of them are really old. What are they doing? It's not money. They're not afraid of COVID. Nobody is. No thinking person. It's because, you know what? Each G7 leader sees himself as a kind of a new Charlemagne, a Clovis, a Constantine, a history-making figure that will usher mankind into this new civilization. Based not on Christ, of course, not on everlasting life, but based on man, based on science, immortality. You see what kind of psychos we're dealing with? That's what's in the back of their heads. They're players at the dawn of the new age of Aquarius. You know, it's like a Star Trek episode, these people. And they worship, it's very serious. It is a religion. They worship now at the altar of a new trinity of Mother Earth, the salvific technology, and of course the Holy Spirit of science. And their new religion, it comes with rites of initiation, it comes with special regalia that one wears on one's face to show compliance with the religion, and of course it comes with a corresponding code of conduct.
If you've been vaccinated, that's it. That's the whole idea. If you haven't been vaccinated, then that's not right. Okay. I don't want you walking around if you haven't been vaccinated.
But you've been vaccinated.
Yes, and I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so don't be afraid of the person who isn't.
I'm not afraid of that person.
Okay.
I'm worried that person is going to spread something to somebody else.
You know.
There's Rob Reiner, Mr. Cynical Rob Reiner, you know. making fun of the fundamentalist Christians over the years, the Catholics and all that, for just doing what they're told and not thinking independently. How's it working out for you now, Rob? Because you're clearly part of a cult that includes a dogmatism so strong and so fanatical that people like you will actually lose their jobs, mask up, and incarcerate themselves indefinitely because somebody on TV told them to. This is the stupidest cult in the history of cults that you belong to, Rob. You're doing this for the other? Really? You and your sycophant friends are going to shun family members now because they haven't had their children baptized in the waters of Pfizer and Moderna yet. That's what's happening. Families are getting blown apart because of this. You're going to celebrate open borders, bans on the automobile is going to kill the planet in 12 years, 8 years now. In the name of inclusivity, you're going to see that the mutilation of your own children and make them little boys, little girls, whatever. You'll let Big Brother decide. And you have the audacity to criticize Christianity and the Catholic Church. All of this, friends, this whole cult, this new religion, it's all part of the Build Back Better agenda. Based on fear of COVID. And they've admitted this over and over again. I'm not even going to play it again. COVID is an opportunity. COVID is an opportunity for us to build back better. How many times we got to play this? These guys are over there right now at their little G7 meeting. They don't think it's a conspiracy theory.
We're building back better together and building back greener and building back fairer and building back more equal and how shall I, in a more gender neutral and perhaps a more feminine way. How about that?
These clowns are going to decide what's best for us. And then we're asking what motivates them. What does motivate them? What motivates these maniacs? You know what I think it is? It's the serpent in Eden, the primordial promise of the serpent to Mother Eve. You will be like God. It's an insanity based on this desire to be like God. And of course, to become like gods, they got to create this religion that is the ape of God. Did you know that 5 out of the G7 leaders are Catholic? 5 of them. And of course, they got one of their own sitting in Peter's chair. They got a Catholic now, one of their own, but a guy who claims to be Catholic, sitting in the most august position of power in the world, President of the United States. They're all Catholics. Catholics in name only, okay, all right, but they're Catholics. Now, I want to be clear as we progress now and conclude this show tonight about this idea of the New World religion. I want to be clear. I'm a cradle Catholic. I will die a Catholic. Please do not confuse what I'm about to say. Don't confuse these words with a guy who's looking, or those with the words of a guy who's looking to change his religion. I'm not. I willingly give assent to every doctrine and dogma of the Catholic faith. The Church, Holy Mother Church, she is my mother. She's not abandoned me. No whining. I can plan on losing my faith. Some of my best friends, in fact, are priests, bishops, who've kept the Catholic faith and who understand as I do that this is a holy war, a crusade against those who now occupy our church. They're Chinos, Catholic in name only. And now this new globalist religion that I'm talking about, it can only be defeated by the true religion. And it makes no sense to me to say we got to destroy the Catholic Church, abandon the Catholic. The greatest weapon we have against what's coming is a reformed Catholic Church. Do not abandon the Catholic Church. Those of you who are thinking about that right now, given all the scandals. No, build it back up again. Build it back into the weapon against this New World Order that the whole world is going to need in order to survive what's coming. And they know this. The globalist folks, they know this. They know they need the Catholic Church, which is why they put so much emphasis now on recruiting our Pope to their cause. So long as the Church stands, the Church presents a clear and present danger to any New World Order that would try to supplant her, which is why we continue to pray for Pope Francis' conversion every day, even as we resist him to his face every single day, because he must be resisted. The adults in the room realize that. He must be resisted. And let's be honest. The Amazon Synod slammed the door on any hope for Francis. I was there. I was in the Vatican press office every single day covering this thing, that synod. I saw what they did with my own eyes. They set up the abomination of desolation in the holy place.
Los hijos de la selva te alabamos, Señor.
Los hijos de la selva te alabamos, Señor.
Las hijas de la selva te alabamos, Señor.
Los frutos y las flores, los árboles y el monte, la tierra que es fecunda te alaban, Señor.
Las aves con sus cantos, los peces y reptiles, las fieras de la selva te alaban, Señor.
Los hijos de la selva te alabamos, Señor.
Friends, whether you're Catholic or not, you got to look at that and think of what it means. Think of the ramifications. That is Earth Mother Goddess Pachamama. That's our mother to the pagans. And they processed her idols right into the Basilica of St. Peter over the bones of St. Peter. I was in the Vatican the same week when these people conducted a bizarre pagan ritual. He asked a pertinent question. He asked about this event that everyone's been talking about over in the Vatican Gardens the other day, when some sort of earth-worshipping, tree-hugging, tree-planting Christian hybrid ceremony involving a statue of a pregnant woman that looked like some kind of fertility goddess. This event took place in the Pope's very presence, and that, according to Ivory, it had prompted some journalists here in Rome to speculate that this might have been a pagan ritual involving a pagan fertility symbol. Just might have been. Now, let's not forget the time sequence here. A few months after that, all hell broke loose. I have no idea why more people aren't talking about this connection. I have no idea. Between what happened then, there at the Vatican, and what happened a few months later, all the churches in Christendom closed. Their doors were locked. The sacraments, the channels of grace, were canceled. And then a new original sin was unleashed on the world, leaving the whole world now crying not to God, but crying out from the depths to be redeemed by the cleansing waters of a new baptism, a baptism called vaccination. If we didn't have the faith, it would seem that this was the end, but it's not the end, because there's one thing that they did not count on, these globalists who've infiltrated my church and are trying to tear the world apart right now. One thing they didn't count on. They didn't count on something that comes to us from the Holy Bible, from Romans 11. That little remnant, a remnant left, selected out of grace. Let me be clear, I'm talking about a small r, the remnant of Christendom, what's left over of the believers of Christianity, the clans of Christendom, if you will. And those clans have been quietly uniting for a long time, especially since 2007, after a pope mysteriously reinstated the traditional Latin Mass. Benedict. Pope Benedict is still alive, but he was no traditionalist. Why did he do this? Why did he restore the traditional Latin Mass in 2007, shortly before they pretty much threw him out? I believe it's because what we see there is divine providence was at work. He gave us Summorum Pontificum, the same Summorum Pontificum, by the way, that Francis is trying to get rid of now. Now think about what happened then. The whole world, the whole Catholic world went into lockdown. Who was it that refused to be without the sacraments, that refused to stay in lockdown, that went into the parking lots to celebrate the Mass when the bishops and the Pope and the priests threw us out of our own? Who was it? Traditional Catholics. When Francis said that we didn't need to go to Mass anymore, the traditionalists took to the parking lots and kept the faith. When Francis told us even healthy young people needed to vaccinate, the traditionalists said, sure, when hell freezes over, Your Holiness. When Francis blessed the diabolical Great Reset and sent a representative to Davos in his name to bless and approve the Great Reset, we fought back with everything we had, including RTV videos that reached tens of millions of views. And when Francis told us to listen to the cry of Mother Earth, what did we do? We threw Pachamama into the Tiber and proclaimed Christ King. So it's no wonder that Pope Francis blinked recently. It's no wonder right now that he's over there moving against Summorum Pontificum, moving against the old Latin Mass, Because over the past 15 months, that Mass proved more powerful in motivating people to use their heads and resist. It was more powerful than the fear-mongering of the globalists. So knock yourself out, Your Holiness. You and your globalist friends and their war on the church? You've only succeeded in transforming millions of Catholics into the soldiers of Jesus Christ that we always were meant to be. Good for you. Keep it up. And friends, you see what's going on here? People say that we're depressed. We're talking about the apocalypse. Are you kidding me? This is a moment of awakening. I've been waiting for this moment all my life. The scales have fallen from the eyes. We're living through a microcosm of the counter-revolution, of the final restoration. You know how that works? Restore tradition. The traditionalists were right. They were vindicated over the past 15 months. Restore tradition. Restore Christianity. Proclaim Christ King of your life, of your family, of your home. And the New World Order hasn't got a chance against you. This is not just Catholic. There's a great story of February 1873. 500 Protestant ministers. They attended something called the National Reform Association. Protestant ministers at a convention in New York City. What do? They demanded a constitutional amendment in the United States to recognize God as the source of all power and Jesus Christ as the chief ruler of all national conduct, they said. Protestant ministers arguing that every government must foster and encourage Christianity among all of its citizens. These were the Protestants. This was the position of the Protestant NRA. Look it up. We'll put the link down below. Because it's not unlike what our own Pope Pius XI, was doing similarly a few years later in Quas Primas, the encyclical, 1925, when he proclaimed the kingship of Jesus Christ to the world. As the world was about ready to descend into the Second World War, he didn't talk about dialogue and ecumenism and listen to Mother Earth and inclusiveness. He insisted that the only way out of the crisis besetting the world was the kingship of Christ. Not only private individuals, he said, but also rulers and princes. He said they are, quote, bound to give public honor and obedience to Christ. What happened to that? What happened to the social kingship of Christ? And is the chaos that we're all living through right now a result of the fact that the Second Vatican Council, the great reset of the Catholic Church, completely ignored the social doctrine of the kingship of Christ? You think maybe, because I do. That's what happened. The traditional Catholics weren't listening to that great reset either back in 1965. We didn't listen. We took up the battle cry of the Vendéans in France 250 years ago, resisting the great reset, the diabolical reset of the French Revolution. And what was that battle cry of the Vendéans? Vive le Christ roi! Long live the Christ the King! And the same battle cry, by the way, of the Cristeros in Mexico in the 1920s. Viva Cristo Rey! Que viva! Don't you see? The proclamation of the kingship of Christ is not some pious devotion. It is the call of crusade. It is a declaration of war against the anti-Christians in this world. We must go back to that. And it doesn't take a genius. It doesn't take a huge movement. You don't have to raise any money. You don't have to start another website. If you're a mom out there fighting critical race theory in defense of your children, you are proclaiming the kingship of Christ, whether you know it or not.
Is this what my tax dollars is paying for? You're teaching my children and other children that if they believe in God Almighty, they're part of a cult.
If you're a homeschooling parent who has come out from among them in their diabolical indoctrination camps called public schools, you're running a boot camp for the army of God. If you're a seminarian learning to celebrate the old Latin Mass, you'll soon be an army chaplain to the soldiers of Jesus Christ. If you're a pro-life nurse or a doctor who's adhering to the Christian moral theology now during COVID and the whole vaccination debate, guess what? You're a medic in the army of God. You're a medic in the army standing against Antichrist. And if you're a student, an unknown, anonymous little student who's out there refusing every day by yourself, refusing to abandon the promises of your baptism in the face of the woke mob on your college campus, you are a herald of Christ the King. And it would be an honor for me and for all of us who've been at this for a long time to stand with you in the trenches and fight back in the name of the King. Don't you see, friends? This is a moment. This is an opportunity for us. The Davos crowd called COVID an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for us. We're waking up finally. We understand the enemy finally. We understand. Proclaim Christ King. And the enemy cannot touch you, cannot touch your family, cannot touch your children. And in the end, you're going to be on the winning side of all this. Friends, I get it. I understand. We're all living through this. It's a dark night. Maybe it's the darkest night ever that we've ever lived through. That's a night of clarity. Clarity in which we can see the wolves prowling about, can't we? We know what they're about. We know what they want. But guess what? God asks us to stand against those wolves. And Christ himself, Christ the King, leads us into that battle against them. You know what's going to happen. You know the wolves will not have the last word, nor will Gates, nor will Soros, these demons. God gets the last word. The angels get the last word. And guess what? If we don't wimp out, we will see. We will have the last word as well. Happy are those who are determined to fight to the death, the great Jean Husset reminds us in his book Action, who refuse to lie down and die before the break of day. For it is by enduring till the dawn that true victory is won. And even if the wolves withdraw, only after they have torn us to pieces, the dawn is the time when the wolves flee the light and they take flight from the flock. The dawn is the time when even the cowardly will take heart, the time when the flock can advance without fear. What greater glory can there possibly be than this? What an honor it is for us to be alive right now. To have the prospect, the possibility right now, think about this. When we're old and we're preparing to die, and we're getting ready to lay down the sword finally, we'll look to the east, to the rising sun, to the lumen gentium. And you know what we'll see? We'll see the dawn of a new Christian order in the world, an order that we will have helped bring about if we just hold on. Just hold on to the old faith. Christ really and truly is the King. He lives and he reigns. Whether the G7 wolf pack acknowledge him or not, that's irrelevant. In fact, they're irrelevant. Don't be scandalized by what's happening to the church. Don't be scandalized by what they've done to our mother, Holy Mother Church. Don't leave her. Don't leave her in this moment of her greatest need. She's been with us all of our lives, at our baptisms, at the death of our parents, at our first communions, at the hardest times of our lives, dealing with the passing of loved ones. She has been there. She's been with us. Now we need to stand with her. Even though she's bloody and she's a mess and the human element have defiled her, we need to stand with her. And we need to remember that her glory is not human glory. She is holy. She is glorious in spite of us, in spite of our sins. And what we do now, friends, what we do over the next few months, the decisions that we make to stay on and to fight, these decisions will stay with us for the rest of our lives, because it will be the test of our hope and faith in the church. It will be the test of our hope and faith in the cross. And when we look back, we must see that we did not fail the test, that we stayed focused, that we recognized there are no enemies on the right. Unite the clans, keep the faith, and God will do the rest. teach your children the most important thing that they can possibly learn to say today, right now, and for the rest of their lives. Viva Cristo Rey. Long live Christ the King. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Michael Matt for Remnant TV, and we'll see you next time.